So who am I? My name is Lara. I'm with the Cloud Engineering team. Today with me, co-presenting, are Eduardo Fuentes, also with the Cloud Engineering team. And we have Adeel Javed from one of our customers, the Options Clearing Corporation, who will join us at the end to talk about his experience in almost 2 years being an Appian Cloud customer. I have been with the company for 14 years. In that time, I've got the chance to wear many different hats. The first one I got 14 years ago, pro tip, I don't get to speak very often, so I figured if I build a bad picture of myself as the first slide, it's as uncomfortable as I'm going to get, so it can only get better from there. But there's a point, and bear with me here. When I joined Appian, I joined the quality engineering team. And specifically, I was in the team responsible for running performance and scalability testing. Again, this was 14 years ago, so there was no Appian Cloud, and there was no cloud vendor, as we know them today at least. So we really had physical boxes in a server room. And being the new guy, I got assigned with the task that no one else wanted to do, that was managing those servers. Cleaning them up, patching them, operating them, staying on top of any security vulnerabilities and whatnot. So that was my job back then. And it taught me a very important lesson that I thought appropriate to share with you today and set the tone for the rest of our presentation. So that's how it looked. This is how I felt. Initially, I could barely keep up with the tests that the team wanted to run and also manage the servers. All that work required me to work long hours, weekends, just to keep the servers going, to clean up results from all tests, to make sure they were up to date. And I realized when I talked to my manager that all that work wasn't really going to get me a promotion. And don't get me wrong, they absolutely cared that their servers were secure. They absolutely cared that we hardened those servers, that we run them efficiently and whatnot. They absolutely cared about the outcome. They just didn't really care about all the work that went into making that happen. Furthermore, if anything, that was going to be detrimental to my career. I learned that because, again, the more time I was spending managing those servers, the less time I had to actually design, run, analyze performance and scalability tests, right? So fast forward a few years, and I still see this lesson as something we can help our customers with. And I see this as one of our most important objectives in Appian Cloud. Appian Cloud should enable you to work smarter, should help you, each and every one of you, to work smarter. And we want for you to let us take care of all the heavy lifting that running an enterprise platform entails. This is not specific to Appian. If anyone here has had to manage a server, you know that just running the OS takes a lot of work. You need to stay on top of security vulnerabilities. You need to stay on top of patches, new versions that come out. You need to make sure that the servers are healthy, that all the third-party components that you might have in the server are also healthy, and so on and so forth. It is a ton of work. And if you were to install Appian on-premise, you will need to spend time on that. There's no way around it. You will need to spend time patching. You'll need to spend time operating. And while our team works to make the process simpler with each version, it's just work that you need to plan and account for and probably have a team and whatnot. Whereas Appian has made a big investment in the last several years to make sure we run all those tasks as efficiently as possible. And so that customers don't have to deal with them, they can spend all their talent, all their time, and all the time they have in their teams to build and deliver the transformative solutions that your teams expect from you. So that's what we want to do here today. We want to walk you through a few of our key items of our operation. Eduardo We'll give you a look behind the curtain of Appian Cloud. I'll come back to talk about all the things that we do to keep Appian Cloud secure and in general our security posture with Appian Cloud. And then Eduardo will talk about how to integrate, and I think that's the title that shows up in the agenda, how to integrate the Appian Cloud Ops with your IT and business operations. And then Adeel will join us at the end to share his experience and hopefully validate some of the things that we've mentioned here. With that, I'll turn this over to Eduardo, who will walk us through a look behind the scene, the curtain of Appian Cloud.
Thank you, man. Okay, anybody into music in the audience? Anybody who loves orchestras or something? No? So clearly, if I were to be chosen as the conductor of any orchestra, it would be a mess, right? Because clearly, as you can tell, I have no idea what I'm doing with this thing, right? And that's what is so important, to choose the right tool or the right platform when you want to automate something. And because imagine, how would an orchestra perform without a brilliant maestro? It would really a mess, right? So fortunately, at Appian Cloud, we had chosen a brilliant maestro, which is Appian, to orchestrate the whole thing, which we call Appian Cloud, and what we are inviting you to join. And the reason why I'm telling you that Appian is our brilliant maestro is because the way we see Appian Cloud is like a symphony. It's like a symphony with 4 movements. We're talking about the delivery, the monitoring, the scaling, and the update of those sites. And we do that all for you. And so today, I'm going to tell you our story so that you get to know how we use Appian to manage Appian Cloud and give you enough confidence that you can sit back and relax while you add value to your company, you build custom applications using Appian, where we take care of that heavy lifting that Marco was telling you about. So let's start with the first movement. The first movement is the delivery of the site. So we have used Appian to create a simple action that integrates with the AWS API. And through us just filling out a form, we are able to launch any number of sites that you have purchased. So we just look at the order, we fill out the data, hit the submit button, and in a few minutes you have your sites up and running in the latest Appian version. As easy as that. The second part, and the most important part probably, is the monitoring part. So we are responsible for the stability of your environments. So it's very important for us to have a very well-enabled support team that is able to stay on top of any issue that can arise from your cloud sites, right? And for us to be able to do that, we have built an Appian site, simple but powerful, that is able to connect to different systems to be on top of what's happening with your sites. It integrates with our own monitoring system, but it also integrates with CloudWatch, the monitoring system from AWS. So through that integration, we can get a kind of a sense of how Appian is performing in your environment, but also how the servers themselves are performing. And we are enabling our support engineers with the right tools so that they can make reactive decisions and work with you towards any kind of performance degradation situations. But also, the amount of data that we have and that we collect and we visualize through Appian allows us to make smarter decisions and proactively reach out to you in case we needed to scale up your servers or make any other decision in terms of to reduce the possibility of any performance problem. But reactive work is not the only key when you want to achieve a 99.95% SLA. It is not. We also have the high availability offering at Appian Cloud that is going to allow you to replicate the data of your cloud sites into 3 different availability zones. So here we're talking about an automatic failover upon any incident detection. As easy as that. So what impact does it have on you? It's because we're talking about upon an incident, you're going to have an automatic failover with a smooth failover experience, which is very important. And this is not the only reason why we have that data and we analyze and visualize it using Appian. We are able to make smarter decisions with that data. For example, if we needed to engage, we normally engage with the engineering team to make the product better. In which ways? Well, through analyzing that data, the engineering team can have a feeling of how the product is performing in these cloud sites, which has helped the company make a better product. You name it. They make it more scalable, it performs better, and even reduce downtime. So we work closely with the engineering team to understand the needs from the customer perspective in terms of configuration changes. So a lot of things that used to require downtime for configuration changes, they no longer require that. It's just a matter of a few clicks in the administration console, and that is thanks to the analysis that we do of the data that we have in the cloud sites. Let's talk about the third movement of the symphony, the scaling. Do you need more hardware? Are you expecting higher load in the next season? Don't worry about that, we got your back as well. So again, with a simple action, we just increase the size of your hardware, and then we coordinate the next steps with you, and then you have a more robust hardware, right? How about our infrastructure? We do the exact same thing. We have a smart auto-scaling. We're now using machine learning to analyze that data, and with that data, we are able to predict what's going to happen in the next season. So we are able to understand your needs as well from the infrastructure perspective. So if we know that every time mid-year you have high load, we are going to be there to support that high load and smartly scale up or scale down depending on that need. We have both machine learning-based proactive autoscaling and also reactive autoscaling, which means that if there's an immediate need for us to scale up, then we will be able to do that as well. So you don't have to worry about that. How about the fourth one, the update. Are you worried about missing the latest and the newest features that you just heard about in Appian World? Well, you don't have to worry about that because we can help you with that. When the upgrade season schedule starts, we're going to schedule the upgrade for you ahead of time. You're going to get an email, and with just 2 clicks, you can adapt that schedule to your needs. You can decide whether you stick to that way in advance schedule that we are offering you, or you can just go, click, 2 clicks, and then you are able to select a different schedule, because we do care about your schedule. We understand that you may prefer to upgrade sooner or maybe a little bit later. So you have that option too. And the way we achieve that is the same thing. We have abstracted these upgrades as a record, and the record allows us to have different related actions that allows us to operate and schedule or reschedule. And what we did was we integrated with Appian Forum, because that's the interface that most of the customers are familiar with. We didn't want to introduce a new tool. So with the power of the Appian platform and the simplicity, we're able to build these custom applications and connect to other systems to make the cloud experience transparent to you and a smooth experience. You're able to do the rescheduling of those upgrades from a completely site that you're completely familiar with, which is also an important thing that Appian is allowing us to do. So how do we achieve that? Well, the way we achieve that is with our culture within the Appian Cloud team. And it's something that we call an agile approach to quality. Because when you have such a creative group of engineers who want to change the world in a few days, then you have to also be careful. Because Appian is enabling us to build custom applications to orchestrate Appian Cloud so fast, but we shouldn't be compromising quality. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our culture, again, so that you can trust us, sit back and relax while we take care of that heavy lifting that we're talking about. The first element of our culture is that we are data-driven. So from the Appian Cloud perspective, the talk is cheap, and you have to show the data. Why is it that you have to show the data? Because data allows us to make smarter decisions. As I said before, we're now using machine learning to be able to scale up or down based on the demand on historical data. Same thing, our support team is able to look at that data, look at that monitoring side, and alert you about possible risks that your site may run into, right? So you don't have to be worried about. The support team is consuming these automations that we have and is able to talk to you to determine the next steps. The next part is we're agile, but always committed to quality. Well, we've been working hard in trying to implement best practices and guidelines so that our engineers are not stopped or slowed down, but at the same time, they stay committed to quality. And you name it. We use testing capabilities that Appian provides, and we also use unit testing as well, and integration testing with our other integration points that we orchestrate through Appian. The other thing is we're also innovative, right? We have a creative team of engineers, and you name it, right? So we built the self-service upgrades feature that I'm going to tell you about in a second, so that you can reschedule upgrades at your early convenience, right? We also, as you saw with Malcolm, we are now bringing you the opportunity to bring your key encryption key, so that you can secure the key to the data, to the disk of the data that hosts your Appian data. We also have the high availability offering that I was just telling you about, where your data can get replicated to 3 different availability zones with automatic failover upon any incident, right? Or the smart auto-scaling using machine learning. So the way we see it is we have a modern and evolving architecture, and that's how we want to stay for a long time. And the last thing that we tell our engineers to make sure that you can trust us is that they need to be focusing on resting. And it doesn't mean that they have to go home and rest. The definition of resting in the Appian Cloud context is we are engaging them into building reliable, extensible, scalable, and testable automations using Appian. And that's again another reason why I'm trying to convey the idea that you can trust us and join us in the journey. So what exactly do we want from you? Well, first of all, we want you to trust us, to sit back and relax, to focus on building custom applications and add value to your organizations while we take care of the rest for you. Thank you.
All right, so Eduardo talked about how we use Appian to run Appian Cloud. And that has been a big investment for Appian, but it has paid off in many ways. In addition to having operations that are very efficient, it provides us with processes that are repeatable, that are traceable, and that goes a long way in terms of information security. We work with auditors. We have auditors coming to our office very, very often. And they talk to me, they talk to Eduardo, they talk to the engineers in our team, they talk to our developers. And it's great to be able to sit down with an auditor and show them, walk them through, OK, here's how we do site provisioning. Here's who launched this site, when it was launched, why it was launched. And each and every step is recorded in a way that it cannot be changed. It's immutable. So auditors like to see that. So spoiler alert, you will see even more reports built on Appian when I talk about information security. Our team works for the CIO of the company, Miles Weber. Miles is here. Probably many of you already have already met Miles. And Miles has made it very clear to this team, more than once, security is our job zero. Every project that we embark on, in one way or another, is meant to strengthen Appian security posture. Whether that's enhancing our confidentiality controls, enhancing our posture towards data integrity, or enhancing availability of the data. Either way, it's geared towards improving our information security posture. And it makes a lot of sense, because if Appian Cloud is ever more, it's evolving into a more secure platform, that benefits our entire customer base. Matt, in his keynote presentation, mentioned that we want your applications to be at an enterprise level. And we can only achieve that if we're able to show auditors and the industry that we can comply with a long list of security frameworks. And this list just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time we show it to you, every time we meet at Appian World. And it should be no exception next year and the year after that. And it's a big investment that many companies probably won't embark on if they have Appian on-premise, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but for us it makes sense. Securing Appian Cloud, since we maintain everything in a state of control with a gold image, that those security enhancements that we roll out will be rolled out to everyone. And we apply to every single Appian Cloud customer. And just by virtue of being with Appian Cloud, your sites will continue to evolve and will be more secure over time. Now, one thing I want to mention is security is shared. And if you look at that pyramid, we take care of most of the items in that stack. But at the top of the stack sits the application. And that's the application each one of our customers will build. And we will support you to make sure that you use the security controls provided by the product properly. But it's ultimately your responsibility. And I thought it important to mention that to you. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but you also play a role in securing your application. We provide documentation. We provide access to the community website where we can collaborate with you. We provide help through our support team, through our professional services team. We provide training on-premise, training online. For those of you who want to learn more about this, I encourage you to join. There's a session tomorrow at 11:15, the top 5 lessons on security, compliance, and development on Appian Cloud. Homesh Agam, our Chief Information Security Officer, will be talking more about this. So we offer you with many resources, but at the end of the day, security is shared. We'll do our best. We'll continue to do our best and invest heavily to secure the parts of the stack that we own and we manage. And we will continue to make improvements to make it easier to configure the security at the application layer. But it is ultimately your responsibility as well. And that's something, information, because it is shared, there are many ways in which we can assist you, in addition to the ones I already mentioned. We do a number of things. This list is not all-inclusive. It's just a few of the things that we wanted to highlight today. We use SSL Labs to continuously assess the HTTPS traffic for our sites. We like to get good grades. That is true no matter where you go in Appian. And we aggregate this data in an Appian report. And not only that, if we were to get downgraded for any reason, that will trigger a response within our team to make sure that we understand why we got downgraded, and if it's not a false positive, so that we can take the appropriate corrective actions right there. And again, all of this is something that if you were to host Appian yourself, something you will need to worry about. Whereas in Appian Cloud, we'll take care of that for you. And you don't need to think about it. Penetration testing. We do our own penetration testing. And this is a recurring topic. It's a question we get often. we do our own penetration testing, and we can share the results with you upon request. That being said, our penetration tests are done against a default state. They are not tailored to the specific applications that each and every one of the organizations that's running an Appian Cloud build, right? So we do encourage customers to run their own penetration testing, do their own scans, make sure they tailor them to their applications. Again, we're shared, we're a team, and we're in this together. All we ask is for us to be alerted ahead of time. Hey, we're going to run this test. It's going to last from X date to X date, and the source IP is going to be this. We'll work with you through the community website. Our tech support staff will work with you through the process to make sure that we get the clear. You get the clear. You can run your test, and you feel confident that the interfaces that you built, the interfaces that you expose to the public, whatever the case might be, right? That those are secure, and you did it. You meet your own specific security requirements. We also do routine scanning of our worldwide infrastructure. That's something, again, that if you were to do it on premise, you would need to do. You will need to make an assessment not only about your site, but also about your infrastructure and your web server and all the different components of the stack. You don't need to worry about that with Appian Cloud. All of these audits and the result of them get captured in reports. And we are more than happy to share those reports routinely with you. Typically, they're on a yearly cycle. So you can work with us, with our InfoSec team, and you can get a copy of those reports. One more thing that we get asked is, by virtue of using Appian Cloud, will my applications be compliant? And this brings me back to the previous slide. Is my application compliant with X security framework? Yes and no. We will take care of some of a good chunk of the security controls in that framework. We'll cover that. But there's another section, and it will be laid out in the reports that you're responsible for implementing, because they will vary depending on the application you build. We also have intrusion detection systems. We have network intrusion detection systems. We have host-based intrusion detection systems. And we use Appian Appian is really the glue that holds everything together in terms of our operations. We use Appian to pull data from all these systems, integrate it in a concise way in which our security analysts can look at this data as frequently as they need to. And they can drill down into each one of these incidents, identify if it's a real threat, and take actions right from there. So again, this is something that we do for you, and we've made a big investment here, and we think it's worthwhile. And we will continue to make sure that is the case, because in this day and age where we hear about security breaches making it to the headlines much more often than they should, we understand that security it's more important than ever. It's always been, since we launched Appian Cloud 10 years ago, it has always been at the forefront of everything we do. But now more than ever, information security is in the forefront of the minds of everyone who's trying to go to Appian Cloud. We understand it's important, and we are committed to always strengthen our security posture. Now, Eduardo will talk about how you can integrate your business and IT operations with Appian Cloud.
Well, now that you know that you can trust us, let me tell you a bit more about two of the latest features that the offering has. Three, actually, that the offering has, so that you can go home, think about it, and reflect on what I just said. So the first one is the Appian Cloud upgrades. So as I said before, a couple of months ago, releases ago, we released the ability for you to reschedule the upgrades at your convenience. So you're going to get notified. Once the upgrade cycle starts, we're going to schedule the upgrade for you way ahead of time. You're going to get notified by email, and then with just 2 clicks, you can get to an interface like this on Appian Forum, and then you select any of the availability dates and times that we have for you. So you have the power of deciding when you want to go to that latest version, so that you don't miss the opportunity to enjoy the latest features. That is one thing. But how about this? How about if I tell you that you don't have to control only the upgrade cycle? You can have more control over your data in the cloud. Well, the other thing that we are releasing with 18.2, the other feature is already working. But this is a new feature that is going to be released with 18.2, is the concept of bringing your own key encryption key. So you're going to have the peace of mind that you have that key that protects the other key that protects the disk where your data is stored. So it's going to give you that peace of mind. You're going to own the key to your data, and that way that you can feel confident that nobody else can access that disk, right, and decrypt it. And the third one, which has been available for a while, but I still want to emphasize on that, is the high availability offering that I was telling you about. Right? Data replicated across 3 different availability zones, automatic failover upon incident detection. So that's also a great opportunity for you to take advantage of it. If you're a cloud customer, then great. If you're not, then even better, right? Because that means that you would have to be worried about installing different servers in different areas to be able to support this automatic failover that the product supports. We're doing that for you, which is another advantage. So in summary, what we want from you is we want you to think about what we just said, right? We're going to take care of that whole symphony for you. The delivery of your sites, the monitoring of those sites, the scaling of those sites, and also the upgrades of those sites for you, right? While still keeping your environment secure, right? So what we want you to do if you're already a cloud customer is to work closer with us to make this cloud experience smoother and benefit from any of these features that I'm telling you about. Just work with us. And if you're not, we are also making the process of migrating on-premise to cloud very easy for you. So talk to your account exec, and then you will be in touch with us so that we can guide you through the journey of moving to cloud, which we're making it easier every time. So with that, I end the presentation, and I would like you to welcome Adeel with his customer success story. Thank you.
Okay, so Marco actually recommended that you guys join an 11:15 session tomorrow. I have an overlapping session where I'm presenting, so I'd recommend you join mine. My name is Adeel Javed. I'm the process automation lead at OCC. The OCC, Options Clearing Corporation, is the world's largest equity derivatives clearing house. I honestly don't know why we call it a house, but no, sure. We have been designated by the US government as a SIFMU, which means systemically important financial market utility. There are only 8 SIFMUs in the US, and any disruption in any of those 8 SIFMUs can actually destabilize the entire US financial market. So what does that really mean? That means that we actually have a very, very long list of security and compliance requirements compared to most financial services organizations. We brought Appian into our organization around mid-2015, and since then we've been using it as in order to reduce our risk, to automate our internal processes, to make them more visible, transparent, and auditable, so that when regulators actually show up, we have something with just one click of a button, we can show them evidence of who did what, when, why, what they had for lunch. So I'll just share with you 2 aspects of our experience with Appian Cloud that might be relevant for this specific session. The first one, of course, is security. I don't know who actually said this. I really tried to look at it on the internet. That's why it just said anonymous, or probably me. But if you are connected, then you are vulnerable. It does not matter if you're on-premise or on cloud. In either case, you need good security policies, controls, and procedures to get over that. So I know most organizations are actually investing more and more money into creating or expanding their InfoSec teams or their cybersecurity teams. But one of the things that I always like to bring up is, when people talk about cloud security, is security is not the core business of most organizations. So no matter how much money you put, how much team you allocate, it's still going to be smaller compared to Appian, which sits on top of AWS. Both organizations which have dedicated cybersecurity teams whose sole responsibility is making sure that every customer from every single industry is actually compliant with their required certification. So as a financial services organization, we might not be concerned with HIPAA or FedRAMP, but we actually, just because, as Marco mentioned, we use Appian Cloud, we actually do get that out of the box. We don't have to worry about doing any of those certifications on our own, because we get those. But Appian was one of the first cloud-based platforms that was actually brought into the OCC, so of course security is going to be concerned. No matter what happens, they are going to be concerned. So we try to involve our security services team at 3 different points within our process. The first one is whenever we bring in a new tool into the organization, and in this case it was Appian, They do their due diligence, they do their risk assessment, and we did not find any issues. So we moved on to the next step. On the next step, we follow the NIST security guidelines, if you're familiar with that. If not, so controls in the simplest terms would be, review your failed logins once a week. Now that we have that control, so we just had that exhaustive list of NIST controls on one side, and then we looked at how many Appian provides out of the box, and most of them were already available out of the box. We did have to implement a few, but it was not a huge effort on our end. And the third touch point, this is an ongoing one. This is what Marco showed, Appian can only do up to a certain extent. After that, it's our responsibility. So in our responsibility, we work with security teams whenever we are doing a new integration with any system or we are building a new application. We bring our security team in to make sure we're not doing anything wrong. We are following all the correct protocols. For example, Appian provides you FTP and secure FTP. It's up to you which one you decide to use. So of course, our security recommends to use secure FTP with a public-private key combination. In the past 2.5 years, we have not had any issues from security where we had to stop or change our direction. We have been good from our security point of view. And again, as I mentioned, we are SIFMU, heavily regulated. We have a huge list of security and compliance requirements, but we're still using Appian and we're good with it. Now, moving on to, let's see, yes, that's all. Moving on to our, how do we integrate Appian into our development, testing, and operations process. So I'll just quickly go step by step from the different phases. But before I do that, so as I mentioned, we brought Appian back in mid-2015. I have been with OCC for 1 year and 364 days. So today is the 364th day. We have built 14 apps, mostly business-focused. 3 are utility apps that our team internally uses to manage the platform. So I come from a Java background. Anyone who's familiar with Java or .NET-based backgrounds, the moment you had to start a project, you have those humongous Eclipse IDEs or JBuilders or NetBeans or whichever IDE you use, you needed that. So the best thing about Appian is it's all web-based IDE. So we don't have to worry about installing anything on our machines. I have a 1-hour train commute to work one way, so it's 2 hours. Yes, takes a while. So I just enable the hotspot on my phone, and I connect my laptop to the internet, and I can actually start working. I don't, but I can start working technically. The other good thing that the IDE provides out of the box, again, a web-based IDE, we don't have to, in our team, we don't have to worry about SVN, GitHub, or any of those because there is version control system built out of the box. So we just use that versioning system. Dependency management is another aspect that's really important because when you have to migrate code from one system, from one environment to the other, or you have to do refactoring or delete something, dependency management actually lets you know what this object is dependent on so that you don't mess up your system. Before I started working with a cloud-based platform, and I'm not the sharpest mind in this room, so I'll admit, I had no idea how an on-prem system actually interacts with a cloud system. I honestly had no idea. So when we started working with Appian, that's the first time I realized, okay, all you need is a simple VPN connection. That's basically it. So right now we have our Appian connected to our on-prem systems. Our network team just had to fill out one quick VPN worksheet where they provided basic information to the Appian support. They provided information to our network team. And I think we had a 1 to 2 hour call, and if everything goes well, you can actually have a working VPN in 2 hours at max. And after that, it essentially becomes a native system where you can, whatever you have access to, you can invoke. Every day at 4:30 p.m., we migrate our code from dev to test, just to be, that continuous delivery concept. For unit testing, well, actually, before we migrate, we do unit testing, and we use the out-of-the-box unit testing capability within Appian. We just build our unit tests within that. We have not automated. If you were in the prior session with on DevOps with Shweta, they mentioned you have the option to actually create a test suite where you can run those on daily basis. We don't have that yet, but all our unit tests are built within the Appian platform. Once we migrated to the test environment, That's when our QA teams starts working. So our QA has not had to learn any new tools, because at the end of the day, what they get is a web-based application. There's no difference. It's like any other web app that has HTML and JavaScript at the back end. So they have not had to learn a new tool or technology for this. So they do their functional testing on the test environment. We have automated all our regression tests. They are not with fitness. We have our built in-house tool right now, which is aptly named Minion. So they actually use Minion to run all the regression tests. And again, you can use Fitness, Selenium, or whichever one that's available out there. You don't have to, because again, it's a web-based application. It doesn't really matter which one you use. Once our QA has done the system testing, our users have done their acceptance testing in the test environment, we migrate the code to production. We have a weekly release cycle. We move code from test to production every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. That's our standard. My director, Sean, and that's our standing meeting that we will always have something, at least one or two change tickets going in. In terms of release management, our OCC requires that separation of duties. So as a developer, I cannot migrate code to production. So we need to have someone else. But we don't have a dedicated support team. We are just 2 developers, including myself, and my director actually does all the code migrations. All we need to do between the 2 developers, we just need to create a release checklist, share that with him, and on average, if you're doing just one application migration, it takes us between 5 to 10 minutes to actually migrate the entire, with SQL scripts, views, any dependencies, certificates, whatever we need to migrate, we can migrate within 5 to 10 minutes. 2 weeks ago, we migrated 5 applications to production, enhancements and new applications, and in total, it took us 30 minutes to do the entire migration. So release management is actually pretty straightforward and simple, at least for us. From infrastructure point of view, people who are familiar with any other platform or the yearly upgrade cycles, Appian actually does that on a quarterly basis. Now, that's a good thing if you're a developer, because you get so much new capability every 3 months. But if you are the unlucky one who has on-prem and who has to do these upgrades, well, you might not be as happy with those upgrades. So from infrastructure point of view, as Eduardo mentioned, the only thing that our team has to do is go into forum, select which date, what time do we want to upgrade each individual environment. For us, again, we have certain requirements where we have to show evidence of testing in each environment. So we do, for example, we upgraded our dev environment yesterday. Our test will be upgraded next week, next Sunday, and production the Sunday afterwards. We don't want to do anything over the weekdays. So every Sunday, we essentially do our upgrades. So from our point of view, the only thing we have to do, create that ticket, go home. On Monday morning, we have an upgraded environment. And that's pretty much it from infrastructure point of view. Now, if we have any other type of issues, we just create a support case. That's basically it. I have worked, in my 13 years of career, Appian is the 12th BPM/app dev platform that I've worked with. So I have worked with pretty much every single major support vendor's support. And if you're all like me, either from India or from Pakistan, in my case, whenever you have to go to a government agency, you have to find someone high up who knows someone high up in the government agency and get something done. The same thing used to happen with our support tickets. You have to find someone who's high up in your organization and who knows someone high up in the other organization to get someone to start work on your ticket. In case of Appian, depending on the priority of the ticket, they will pick it up within the next few minutes. There's no doubt about it. They will always pick up that ticket and start working on it. And there's a good chance that if they have asked a question to you and you have not responded, they will give you a call. They will hunt you down, trust me. They will find someone to ask that question. The one other good thing that they do, which Eduardo also mentioned, that they do proactive testing, performance monitoring. So any environment that actually might exceed certain thresholds, they will create a support ticket and follow up with you so that whatever needs to be done, you can let them know. Before I wrap up and we open for questions, I just wanted to say, as I mentioned, I've worked with quite a few support vendors. It's a great platform, But not only that, it's the people who are very, very customer focused. You will always get a good response from them. Thank you.